Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you reside here in these great United States. This is the news with b.c.begley. I am your host. It's Friday, December the 19th, and let's jump right into the top news stories for today. House Republicans moved their Christmas recess up by a day, scheduling final House votes on Thursday afternoon instead of Friday, just ahead of the DOJ's deadline to release unclassified Jeffrey Epstein-related documents. The release is mandated under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed by President Donald Trump, which gave Attorney General Pam Bondi 30 days to disclose the materials by Friday. While there is no evidence the schedule change will affect the DOJ's compliance, some Democrats and online commentators have questioned the timing. The law requires broad disclosure without redactions for embarrassment or political sensitivity, though victim identities and active investigations may still be protected with justification, Newsweek has reported. Democrats, including Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, have publicly linked the early recess to long-standing GOP resistance to full transparency in the Epstein case. NASCAR driver Greg Biffle, his wife Christina, and their two children, Emma, 14, and Ryder, 5, were among 6 people killed in a fiery private jet crash, this according to multiple sources and NASCAR. The Cessna C550, owned by Biffle through GB Aviation Leasing, crashed around 10:15 a.m. local time while attempting to land at Statesville Regional Airport in North Carolina. The jet had taken off minutes earlier and was seen flying erratically and too low before bursting into flames on impact. Fellow NASCAR driver and YouTuber Cletus McFarland confirmed the family was en route to visit him and expressed devastation over the loss, the U.S. Sun has reported. The FAA and the NTSB are investigating the crash, which involved a jet that was built in 1981. Heavy storms on Hormuz Island in Iran turned rainwater and coastal seas a striking blood-red color as iron oxide-rich soil washed down cliffs and into the ocean. The phenomenon, known locally as red beach, is caused by Golak soil, which turns crimson when it comes into contact with water. The dramatic scene drew widespread attention online, with some comparing it to biblical imagery, though scientists confirm it is entirely natural. Hormuz Island, often called Rainbow Island, is known for its colorful, mineral-rich soils, formed over millions of years within a salt dome structure, the U.S. Sun has reported. Similar blood rain events have occurred elsewhere, including Israel's Sea of Galilee, where algae blooms, not almonds, were responsible for the red coloration. The suspect in the December 13th mass shooting at Brown University was found dead by suicide in a storage unit in Salem, New Hampshire, authorities have said. He was identified as 48-year-old Claudio Manuel Neves Valenti, a former Brown student. The campus shooting killed 2 students and wounded 9 others during a study session in an engineering building amid final exams. Valenti is also believed to be responsible for the fatal shooting of MIT professor Nuno Lario in Brookline, Massachusetts, 2 days later. This, according to federal prosecutors, CBS News reported. Investigators had previously struggled to identify or even locate the suspect due to limited security footage. European Union leaders have agreed to provide Ukraine with a €90 billion loan, addressing its military and economic needs for the next 2 years, after failing to reach a deal on using frozen Russian assets. The loan, which is backed by EU's common budget, avoids disputes over liability that blocked proposals to use the €200 billion in Russian funds. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky warned that without financial support by spring, Ukraine would face severe production cuts, including for drones. French President Emmanuel Macron suggested Europe should explore re-engaging with Russian President Vladimir Putin, while U.S. and Russian officials planned peace talks in Miami on a potential peace plan between Russia and Ukraine, the BBC has reported. The EU's loan deal provides Ukraine a critical lifeline amid ongoing financial pressure and diplomatic efforts. President Donald Trump signed an executive order directing federal agencies to reclassify marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, easing long-standing restrictions on the drug. The move recognizes cannabis as having accepted medical use and a lower potential for abuse, similar to ketamine and certain pain medications. President Trump highlighted that the change would benefit patients with chronic illnesses, veterans, and older Americans suffering from debilitating conditions. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services plans to launch a pilot program in April providing certain seniors with doctor-recommended CBD products, CNBC has reported. Analysts say the reclassification could be a financial boost for the cannabis industry, allowing standard expense deductions, banking access, and attracting institutional investment, though the order does not legalize recreational marijuana. Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan was found guilty of a felony for obstructing federal agents attempting an immigration arrest outside of her courtroom, while being acquitted of a related misdemeanor charge. The jury of 12 deliberated over 6 hours, delivering a split verdict that her attorney said could form the basis for a motion to overturn the conviction. The case, the first of its kind against a sitting state judge, has drawn national attention as a flashpoint in the clash between the judiciary and the Trump administration's immigration enforcement policies. Prosecutors emphasize the ruling is about holding Judge Dugan accountable for a single incident in a courthouse, not politics, while the defense highlighted the split verdict and the complexities of ICE procedures, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel has reported. No sentencing date has been set, and the case may continue with motions challenging the conviction. TikTok has signed agreements with Oracle, Silver Lake, and MGX to form a new U.S. joint venture, allowing the platform to continue operating within the United States. The deal, expected to close on January the 22nd, gives the investor group 50% ownership, while ByteDance and its affiliates retain 50%, with a majority American 7-member board overseeing the company. U.S. user data will be stored locally by Oracle, and TikTok's algorithm will be retained on U.S. data to prevent outside manipulation. The venture will also manage content moderation and policies domestically, addressing long-standing national security concerns over Chinese control of the algorithm, ABC News has reported. The agreement ends years of uncertainty over TikTok's U.S. operations, following bipartisan legislation and multiple executive orders aimed at ensuring the platform's compliance with American law. Federal prosecutors have unsealed an indictment against Hector Guerrero Flores, the leader of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Agua in the Southern District of New York. Guerrero Flores, 42 years old, nicknamed the Unspeakable, is accused of running the gang as a multinational criminal organization responsible for drug trafficking, violence, and terrorism, operating largely from a prison. Charges include racketeering conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and providing material support to terrorists, with the State Department offering up to $5 million for information leading to his arrest. Prosecutors allege that he directed murders, sex trafficking, money laundering, and drug shipments while living luxuriously in prison, and that his organization has expanded internationally, exploiting Venezuelan migrants, CBS News has reported. The indictment reflects a coordinated effort by U.S. law enforcement to target transnational criminal organizations, marking a shift in approach from targeting gangs as local prison-based entities to multinational threats. All right, it's 8 past the hour, and here's a look at the live weather radar from the National Weather Service. It's a bit wet out there in some parts of the country, and now let's take a look at the National Weather Forecast for today. Heavy snow is impacting the Upper Peninsula and the northern Lower Peninsula of Michigan, with lake effect snow ramping up downward of Lakes Erie and Ontario through Saturday morning. A strong system is also bringing snow to the Cascades and the northern Rockies, while rain spreads across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic before exiting the East Coast Friday evening. Out west, a powerful Pacific storm will deliver rain and mountain snow to the Pacific Northwest and Northern California, where a slight risk for excessive rainfall raises concerns for localized flash flooding. Meanwhile, mixed precipitation, including freezing rain and snow, develops across the northern plains and the upper Midwest, with light snow also spreading through the central Rockies and the Great Basin into the weekend. The U.S. Justice Department filed lawsuits on Thursday against Wisconsin, Illinois, Georgia, and the District of Columbia for failing to provide voter information requested by the Trump administration. This is part of a broader effort, with 22 lawsuits filed so far, to collect detailed voter registration data nationwide, including names, dates of birth, addresses, and partial Social Security numbers. States like Georgia and Wisconsin have resisted, citing state privacy laws and concerns about legality, with bipartisan commissions in Wisconsin rejecting the request. The Justice Department argues the states are violating federal law and says the data is needed to protect elections from vote dilution, ABC News has reported. Critics have raised concerns over privacy and how the sensitive information will be used, while officials insist the effort is about election integrity and transparency. The U.S. sanctioned 2 more International Criminal Court judges for participating in investigations of Israeli nationals related to the Gaza conflict. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the sanctions target judges who voted in favor of the ICC's decision rejecting Israel's appeal against the ongoing probe. The ICC condemned the move as an attack on its judicial independence, warning that threatening judges undermines the international legal order. The Trump administration has repeatedly rejected the ICC's authority over the U.S. and Israel, citing sovereignty concerns, and has previously sanctioned other judges, the court's chief prosecutor, and supporting organizations, CNN reported. In November of 2024, the ICC issued arrest warrants for Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as 3 Hamas leaders, for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. President Donald Trump issued an executive order titled Ensuring American Space Superiority on December the 18th, directing U.S. efforts to dominate space for security, economic, and exploratory purposes. The order calls for returning astronauts back to the moon by the year 2028 and constructing a permanent lunar base by the year 2030, including deploying nuclear reactors in orbit and on the moon. It also emphasizes strengthening U.S. space defense, with next-generation missile defense technologies expected by 2028, while boosting the commercial space economy with at least $50 billion in additional investment. The directive requires NASA and private sector leaders, including Jared Isaacman, to submit implementation plans within 90 days and assess underperforming acquisition programs, Space.com has reported. Additionally, the order revokes Biden's 2021 Executive Order 14056, potentially ending the National Space Council, which guides U.S. space policy. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said she has reached an agreement with state lawmakers to approve legislation allowing terminally ill people to end their lives with prescribed medication. Hochul said she will support the bill with added guardrails, including confirmation by 2 physicians that a patient has less than 6 months to live and a mental health evaluation to ensure the decision is voluntary. The measure also includes a mandatory 5-day waiting period, written and recorded request, and opt-out provisions for religious-affiliated facilities. Hochul cited compassion for suffering patients while acknowledging opposition from religious groups, including Catholic leaders, who argue the law devalues human life, ABC News has reported. If signed next year, New York would join more than a dozen states and Washington, D.C. that permit medically assisted dying. NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft has captured ultraviolet images of the interstellar comet 3I Atlas as it makes a close approach to Earth, though the observation was coincidental. Traveling at roughly 153,000 miles per hour, the comet will pass within about 168 million miles of our planet on December the 18th through the 19th, visible as a faint green dot through backyard telescopes. The spacecraft's Europa ultraviolet spectrograph collected 7 hours of data from 102 million miles away on November the 6th, revealing details beyond the visible spectrum. Clipper's main mission remains studying Jupiter's moon Europa, where it will search for signs of extraterrestrial life in the moon's ice-covered ocean and analyze geysers and surface chemistry, Live Science has reported. The comet's close flyby offers a rare bonus observation opportunity as both objects head toward Jupiter, with Clipper arriving in the year 2030 and 3i Atlas reaching the gas giant in 2026. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has revealed a highly unusual exoplanet named PSR J2322-2650b, orbiting a pulsar in a black widow system. Unlike typical exoplanets, it is distorted into an oblong lemon shape by the pulsar's intense gravity. Its atmosphere is dominated by helium and carbon, with molecular carbon present instead of more common compounds like water or methane. Scientists are puzzled by its formation, as its extreme carbon enrichment doesn't fit any known planetary formation models, Engadget has reported. The discovery adds another intriguing mystery to our understanding of the universe. Nike reported quarterly earnings and revenue that beat Wall Street expectations, driven by strong North American sales, though shares fell about 10% in after-hours trading due to weakness in China. For its second fiscal quarter of 2026, Nike posted earnings of 53 cents per share versus 38 cents expected, and a revenue of $12.43 billion versus $12.22 billion that was expected. North American sales rose 9% to $5.63 billion, while Greater China revenue fell 17% to $1.42 billion, with ongoing challenges from higher tariffs and a struggling Converse brand. The CEO, Elliott Hill, emphasized that Nike is mid-turnaround, focusing on inventory management, digital improvements, and new initiatives like the upcoming Nike Mind footwear platform, CNBC has reported. Despite some areas of growth, Nike expects modest revenue gains in North America and a decline in gross margins next quarter, while shares have dropped over 13% year to date. Trump Media and Technology Group announced a $6 billion all-stock merger with fusion energy company TAE Technologies, expected to close in mid-2026, giving shareholders of each firm roughly equal stakes. Trump Media shares jumped 33% after the announcement, despite the company's ongoing financial struggles and minimal revenue from its Truth Social platform. The merger aims to create one of the first publicly traded fusion companies, with plans to build a utility-scale fusion power plant to provide abundant, low-risk energy. Trump Media will provide up to $200 million in cash at signing, with an additional $100 million available, and Devin Nunes and the TAE current CEO will both serve as co-CEOs, CNBC has reported. The combined company will hold Truth Social and several TAE subsidiaries, leveraging TAE's 1,600 patents and $1.3 billion in prior investment from backers like Google and Chevron. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, has launched new AI-driven weather forecasting models designed to deliver faster and more accurate predictions while using far less computing power. The AI models, which are AI-GFS and AI-GEFS and hybrid GEFS, leverage decades of historical data and traditional equation-based models like the Global Forecast System to improve forecast without replacing existing systems. The AI-GFS can generate a 16-day forecast using just 0.3% of the computing resources of the traditional GFS, finishing in about 40 minutes, while the AI-GEFS provides a range of possible outcomes, and hybrid GEFS combines AI with traditional modeling to handle uncertainty. NOAA estimates the AI programs require 91 to 99% less computing power than conventional models, though training them remains energy intensive, CBS News has reported. And while promising, the agency notes further refinement is needed, particularly for hurricane forecasting. Today is December the 19th, 2025, and on this day in history, in the year 1777, George Washington's Continental Army went into the winter quarters at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, a turning point that tested and ultimately strengthened the American forces during the Revolutionary War. In the year 1843, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol was first published in London, quickly becoming one of the most influential and enduring Christmas stories of all time. And in the year 1997, the film Titanic was released in the United States, going on to become one of the highest-grossing movies in history and winning 11 Academy Awards. December the 19th is also International Human Solidarity Day, and that's what. And while you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you can stay up to date on all of my news stories and my live show. And let's go into the last block of news for today. Menards has reached a $4.25 million settlement with multiple states, including Minnesota, over allegations of deceptive marketing in its 11% rebate program and pandemic-era price gouging. Minnesota will receive $632,167 from the settlement, which also involves Wisconsin, Arizona, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, and South Dakota. Attorneys general claimed that Menards misled customers by advertising 11% off everything while requiring rebate forms for future in-store credit and obscuring that Rebates International is part of Menard Inc. The company also faced accusations of raising prices on items like rubbing alcohol and dish soap during COVID-19, CBS News has reported. As part of the settlement, Menards agreed to improve disclosure of rebate limitations, clarify its relationship with Rebates International, and refrain from price gouging during economic disruptions. Pre-trial suppression hearings in Luigi Maggione's New York case have concluded after nearly 3 weeks, focusing on whether key evidence can be used at trial. Maggione, who's 27, faces state charges including murder for the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, as well as weapons and forgery charges. Central to the hearings is a backpack that Maggione carried at his arrest, containing a 9mm handgun, a loaded magazine, a silencer, and a notebook allegedly detailing his intent to target a health insurance executive. His lawyers argued the evidence was seized without a warrant and should be excluded. The defense also seeks to exclude statements that Maggione made before being read his Miranda rights, NPR has reported. Judge Gregory Caro will rule on May the 18th, while Maggione faces separate federal charges, which carry potential death penalty exposure, with his next federal court appearance set for January the 9th. Brian Walsh was sentenced to life in prison without parole after a Massachusetts jury found him guilty of killing and dismembering his wife Anna Walsh, the mother of their 3 children. Anna, who was 39, went missing on January the 1st of 2023, and her body has never been recovered. Evidence presented at trial included surveillance footage, receipts for tools and supplies, blood-stained items from dumpsters, and internet searches on body disposal, which prosecutors said demonstrated premeditation. The judge described Walsh's actions as, quote, barbaric and incomprehensible, and noted the profound emotional impact on their children and Anna's family, ABC News has reported. Walsh had previously pleaded guilty to lying to the police and improper disposal of her body, but maintained that he did not kill her. He did not testify during the trial. U.S. forces have killed 5 more people on drug vessels in the Eastern Pacific, raising the death toll in the Trump administration's anti-narcotics campaign to at least 104 since September. The strikes, ordered by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, targeted 2 boats, killing 3 on one and 2 on the other, though Washington has provided no proof that the vessels were involved in drug trafficking. Hegseth faces scrutiny for reportedly ordering attacks on survivors clinging to debris, which legal experts consider a potential war crime. The military campaign has sparked international concern, with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro accusing the United States of using drug enforcement as a pretext for regime change, and Brazil's President Lula and Mexico's President Sheinbaum offering to mediate, Al Jazeera has reported. The U.S. has deployed about 15,000 personnel, 11 warships, and F-35 fighter jets, marking the largest U.S. military buildup in Latin America in generations. Violence erupted in Bangladesh after a 32-year-old pro-democracy leader was injured in an assassination attempt back on December the 12th, died in a Singapore hospital. Thousands of protesters took to the streets, setting fire to several buildings, including the offices of the country's 2 largest newspapers, while also attacking other sites and blocking key roads. Hadi had been a prominent figure in the 2024 uprising that ousted the Prime Minister, who remains in exile in India, and was campaigning for a parliamentary seat in the February 2026 elections. Authorities have now launched a manhunt for Hadi's shooters, offering a reward for information, and the interim government declared a half-day of mourning, The Guardian has reported. Political tensions are high ahead of the elections, with the Bangladesh Nationalist Party poised to challenge the Awami League, while the former leader remains hospitalized and her son is returning from exile. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced a national firearms buyback scheme to remove surplus, newly banned and illegal guns following the Bondi Beach massacre. The scheme, funded jointly with states and territories, aims to collect and destroy hundreds of thousands of firearms, with state authorities handling collection and payments and federal police responsible for the destruction. A day of reflection for the victims will be held on December the 21st with flags at half-staff, and a national day of mourning is planned in the new year. Albanese confirmed the attack was ISIS-inspired, based on intelligence from online video feeds, and said investigations into the motivation and methods are still ongoing, CNN has reported. The initiative is Australia's largest gun buyback program since 1996, reflecting concerns that the country now has over 4 million firearms, more than during the Port Arthur massacre. Okay, everybody, it's 26 past the hour. That is our show for today. I hope all of you have enjoyed it. It is Friday, so it's the weekend, so I won't see everybody until Monday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time for our next episode of The News with BC. And don't forget to enjoy the weekend. Go outside, have fun. Everybody needs sunshine. Don't forget. And I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday.